In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Bryan Frye, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbartis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears. In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Bryan Frye, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbartis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable to the podcast where we watch movies and then talk about them. I'm your host, Chad Robinson, and joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Bryan Frye. Bryan, how's the string of movies treating you? This is
this is the three in a calendar week, so that's definitely a personal best for me right now. But yeah, it's great. It's good watching, and none of them were bad movies, so that's a benefit because before this string we had Razor's Edge.
Oh yes, poor Russell Guest. Russell took a big swing, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We are introducing a new guest from the original Geek Podcast. We have a special guest, Matt Williams. Matt, can you tell us about your podcast, where we can find it, what you guys talk about, if you can take the time, because you guys talk about a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. First, thank you for having me. I'm ecstatic to be here. My name is Matt, a.k.a. Magic, or Rockin' Mr. Magic for long. And the original Geek Podcast is a show that my co-host and I started about 10 years ago. Long story short, we were both former collegiate athletes who grew up in the 80s, also being big geeks. And back then, you were not allowed to be both. You had to be kind of one or the other. So we started having these conversations where we were tying sports and our love of anime and gaming and Lego and sneakers. And we were like, yeah, let's start recording it. And we've been going on since then. So we take the world of sports, combine it with the word of geek, hence the word geek, which is jock plus geek. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, which is one of our preferred favorite platforms to use because of the interactivity, and CastBox and others. We also are on YouTube, and TikTok, IG, Facebook for our social media stuff as well.
Yeah, you guys were covering the Stranger Things reactions. Have you gotten into One Piece yet?
Yes, I have started One Piece. It's a daunting task, but I have started One Piece and I enjoy it so far.
The live action has been phenomenal. Season 2 was great.
That's what everyone says. I want to get through the anime part of where they are in the show before I start watching the live action.
Ooh, you've got 100-some episodes to hit before you do that.
Yeah, I do. And I just binge watched Princess 9 to review on my show. I've got some episodes to catch up on. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I'm still working my way through. One day I'll make it through all 1,100 some episodes they have. That's eventually. Russell has prepared some warm-up questions for us. Today we're going to have, he's using a pun here because we're doing a sub movie, which makes Bryan happy. Anything with a submarine, right. Bryan is a happy man. But what is a movie, Matt, or a setting that you would like to submerge yourself into, move around, visit, and discover if you could?
Oh, that's easy. I'm trying to live in Wakanda.
Oh, okay. Are you going to ride the rhinos?
Wakanda is
That's a good choice. That's a really good choice.
Wakanda's the place to be. I my love for Winston Duke and the Jabari, I would probably be part of like new school Jabari who are more into technology and less on the old ways, but still a bit traditional and still there to support M'Baku. But no, Wakanda is definitely the place I'm trying to be immersed in.
That's a good choice. That's
the culture within the cultures. You've got the river tribes, you have the border tribes, you've got the Jabari. Like, there's so much richness, and any place with that many women that fine is a place for
me. That is a wonderful answer. I didn't think of that one. Frye, where are you living?
Oh, I'm going to Middle Earth, man.
I do, yeah.
That was never specifically Rohan. I'm all about the horse lords. Let's go.
Okay, all right. Gondor calls and Bryan will answer.
Well, the funny thing is, like, my knee-jerk reaction after reading the script for today, I was like, man, I want to say Dune, but that would suck. Like, Dune is one of my favorite things, but I wouldn't want to live there.
It only doesn't suck when you're the hero, but 99% of everyone else's life sucks.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars, everyone's life sucks, but the heroes.
Right. So yeah, I'm sticking with Rohan and Middle Earth.
I like it. I like both answers. I've been reading through the Chronicles of Narnia with my daughter, and so nice. We have hit Prince Caspian.
Great book.
Just because of that, I think I'm gonna say I want to visit Narnia, hang out with.
You just haven't found the right wardrobe yet, man.
Yeah. I mean, see Mr. Tumnus, hang out with Aslan. Say hello to Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, have them prepare some breakfast for me. All sounds pretty good.
Heck yeah.
So she's loving them.
There's just one problem with all of our places.
What's that?
They're always constantly getting attacked.
It's true.
Yeah, Bryan, at least with Middle Earth, could pick a different age. Like post-Sauron? Or,
right.
Yeah, Wakanda's under constant attack. Narnia, yeah, it's constant war. As long as the kids leave, I guess you're under war. Okay. Well, Matt, what's the last movie you saw? It doesn't have to be in the theaters.
Oh, well, the last movie I saw was our topic, Crimson Tide. Prior to that, man, I watch a lot of movies. Jackie Chan's Who Am I?
Nice.
I haven't seen that one.
It's one of my favorite Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan films. It's one of my favorites. His choreography is great, and it's one of those it's just his fight choreography, especially at the end. It's so great. I won't spoil it in case you decide to peep it for yourself, but it's a very enjoyable Jackie Chan, early '90s movie.
Okay, we got to cover Rush Hour somewhat recently. That was a lot of fun going back to. We've covered Legend of the Drunken Master.
One of my favorites too. But his Hong Kong stuff compared to anything with Hollywood money behind it, there's such a stark difference.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Our co-host Dustin Malbardis is a big kung fu guy, so he brought that in as one of his dealer's choices. I'd never seen it, and I had a great time with it. That was so much fun. Well, you're in good company. We watch a ton of movies. Bryan, have you managed to squeeze in an actual movie in between talking about movies this week?
Yeah, absolutely. To celebrate a major Oscar overlook in Paul Thomas Anderson, I went on kind of a watching spree of some of my favorites of his. So the last movie I watched was Inherent Vice.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, it's he's such a good director and so diverse. Like all of his, like he's all over the place. It's not like, the Michael Bays of the world where it's like he specializes in one specific type of film. I realize that there's a difference between Black Hawk Down and Transformers, but it's still like Michael Bay explosion.
Michael Bay, big booms.
Yeah,
big booms everywhere.
But yeah, Inherent Vice is seriously one of my favorite movies, and I was so excited he finally got some Oscars under his belt. One Battle After Another was fantastic. So yeah, kudos to him, and watch Inherent Vice if you haven't.
I was gonna say this had to be your most enjoyable Oscars in forever because
it truly was. I was like, I'm usually a hater. I mean, like heavy, like into the haterade on the Oscars. This was a good year.
Yeah, I actually saw some of these movies. Sinners, I've been behind since day one, and
Yep.
I watched one battle after another after your recommendation, Frye. Weapons wound up winning. It was a great year for horror. Even Ugly Stepsister got at least a nomination for
Chad was one of 3 people who independently texted me and said, if you haven't seen Sinners yet, it is 1,000% a U-type movie. And I watched it and I was like, yep, you're not wrong. I ended up bought the pre-order of the movie, and then bought every single soundtrack that came out for it. I have them all on vinyl. I was like, this is amazing. So anyway, that was my movie of the year last year. And I mean, I liked One Battle After Another, but Sinners was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. I finally got Owen to see it. Owen texted me afterwards, and I can't say it on the podcast, but it was like, holy yes, that was awesome. I'm like, yeah, I told you.
Right.
Well, I saw Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride, and it was far more musical than I expected. It may be the only movie that saw Joker Folie à Deux and thought, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Like, that's kind of the impression I got. But you know what? It took massive risks and big swings. So kudos for the bravery. Just didn't quite work for me. So, Bryan, we did mention, though, and we did the sub pun. Russell put it in there for the warm-up questions. What submarine movie are we covering today?
We are doing 1995's Crimson Tide.
That's right, starring Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman, George Dzundza, Viggo Mortensen, James Gandolfini, Matt Craven, and Rocky Carroll from NCIS fame. So that was fun to see him show up. As Bryan said, released in 1995, has a budget of $53 million, almost doubles it domestically at $91 million. Places 11th in the box office that year, right behind Die Hard with a Vengeance and ahead of Waterworld. The number 1 movie that year, really hard to compete with, Toy Story. An IMDb rating of 7.4. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics really enjoy this movie. It's at 89%, and the audience score is right there with it at 84%. Does receive a couple Academy Award nominations, speaking of the awards, for Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Effects, and Sound Effects Editing, as well as a Grammy Award winner. That's Hans Zimmer here for our Best Instrumental Composition, written for motion picture or TV. Gets a Saturn Award nomination for Best Music as well. And lastly, a nomination from American Society of Cinematographers for Outstanding Achievement in Cinematography, or Darius Wolski. Matt, you're the one that shortlisted this movie, and like I told you off air, if you put a submarine movie on a short list, Bryan Frye,
I'll pick it. Yeah,
it's his catnip. Like, we didn't even, it barely hit our thread, and Bryan's like, that one.
Yeah.
So I'll ask
you.
Got
great taste.
Have you seen Crimson Tide? And if so, what's it like coming back to it?
I have. Well, so as I said offline, before we started rolling here, Crimson Tide is in my top 5 of Denzel Washington movies. It is a fantastic film. You mentioned some of the cast. And because of the strong cast is a big part of why I've watched this movie probably at least once. I've watched it over 30 times. It's like a 31-year-old movie. I've watched it at least 30 times, if not more.
Wow.
It's so good. And just seeing 2 masters play off each other the way that Denzel and Gene Hackman do is fabulous. I could really wax poetic on this, but no, it holds up. war, especially a good war themed movie, always holds up because it's always going to be prevalent to current society and politics. And this movie really holds up because it makes you think, it makes you reflect on the conflict at hand between the two central characters, and leaves you debating who was right, who was wrong. Was nobody right? Was nobody wrong? Is the Navy wrong and both of these individuals are correct? There's a lot to chew on, which is the mark of, to me, a great film when you walk away and you're continuing to discuss it and it has relevancy after you walk out the theater.
You were so close to the Fallout quote of war. War never changes. But yeah, it is an evergreen theme.
Absolutely.
Frye, is there a submarine movie in existence that you haven't seen?
Probably not. I'm sure, if anybody wants to take a swing in the comments after we post this episode, have at. But this and Hunt for Red October were a 1-2 punch of movies that really got me into naval warfare films. Hunt for Red October was, I think, my first DVD. This movie had the distinction of being a movie that I had on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and now digitally. So it went all the way across. I'm completely with you. I've probably watched this movie, I'm going to say south of 50 times, but it was a lot, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s. I actually hadn't watched it in a while, so when it came up on the short list, I was like, meh. That one. So, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Watching Gene Hackman and Denzel go back and forth on it, their repartee, just even when they're not in conflict, is still kind of combative, and that too was awesome. So yeah, it's this is a great movie. This is a great submarine movie. I'll even give it the distinction as the best movie that takes place near completely on the sub. You have a lot of movies where, you hop out and you go somewhere else, or the back half's in a sub and, whatever. But this is like, yeah, it's one of it had to have saved at least a little bit of money on set design, just because you're in the box the whole time.
I would say actually they did not save money. They spent a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Was it one of those like rent a submarine?
No. So, one thing, I'm glad that you guys invited me on this, is because one thing I had not seen until I started preparing for this was the making of. So I decided to watch the making of as well. They actually constructed full-size set pieces that emulate multiple areas on the ship, and then they created the command center, the CIC. So when we're looking at the images where, like when they're diving, they are actually, that's not the camera tilting, they are tilted that way when because they made it with like hydraulics, and so it shifted and moved to simulate what it would actually be like on a sub. So it was a very expensive undertaking that they did to create the realism that you experience. And I have a couple friends who served in the Navy. One served on a sub, and he said, yeah, that's what it looks like. That's how it feels like. That those angles are legit.
Wow,
nice. Now, was that a special feature, or did you go hunting for the making of this?
It was. I found it while carousing the interwebs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
You can't find it streaming you can't find Crimson Tide streaming anywhere. I thought I owned the disc, but I think my son may have absconded with it. But so I found it and I was like, making of. Let me watch this too. And a lot of really interesting stuff, particularly around like obviously the score, the actors, and like the cast. One thing, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, this cast is phenomenal. Like, it is a full cast of names and faces that people will recognize, like outside of the big names. We've got Aragorn in here, we've got Tony Soprano, You mentioned Rocky Carroll from NCIS as well as the sitcom Rock. But you've got Steve Zahn in this.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got Leo Brancato from Bronx Tale in this. Ryan Felipe's face shows. I don't think he says anything, but we see Ryan Felipe a couple times. We see Vanessa Bell Calloway playing Denzel's wife. Mark Christopher Lawrence, who played Big Mike on the show Chuck, amongst other things. Like, he's in this film. Like, there are so many talented actors who have very small roles in a couple, the odd speaking part here and there that are just rife throughout this film. So this cast and the casting director did a phenomenal job in filling this sub with tremendous talent.
I have no idea how they had any money left over for the set. When you look at the cast, I look at the names. And
it's Simpson and Bruckheimer. They got money.
Well, to this day, every time I see Matt Craven in anything, I immediately go, "Oh, it's Mr. Zimmer."
Yeah,
every time.
Well, I am the rookie here. I had not seen this movie. I had not even really heard of it when I saw Crimson Tide. I was initially thinking football movie. What are we doing here? And I was confused by Bryan. Bryan's usually super chill on our picks. He's like, yeah, whatever you're feeling, man. He won't immediately chime in. He kind of waits to see what the temperature is. And then this one was a very odd one of just, as he said, that just within minutes.
I'll be honest, I don't even remember what the other two were. Right. It's just like, yeah, we've got an answer.
That's the one.
I did figure at that time, I was like, okay, this is some kind of intrigue or thriller or war movie if Bryan is chiming in so quickly.
And I got to tell you, I thought, based on the 3 movies that I've done this week, I feel like I'm about to get in trouble from Russ because we've been hitting the 90s so hard. And I know I'm usually the guilty one of suggesting 90s movies, but it's just too good to pass up. I love this movie.
Bryan loves the 90s. Yeah, so when I saw the cast, I was super excited. I haven't seen a ton of Denzel Washington movies. We were talking about Glory. I really do love Glory, Inside Man, things like that. But I didn't see a lot of his 90s stuff. I was a little bit younger, and I just haven't caught back up. So I've got some homework to do because anytime he shows up on my screen, I'm really, really happy. Seeing Gene Hackman as well. I was looking forward to that. And then I found out, okay, they're opposing each other and they're just going to go at it for a movie. I am down for all of that. So Matt hit it. I don't think this movie has aged poorly. I think it's pretty evergreen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I also I know he did some stuff before, really gaining popularity, but I think you'd be harder pressed to find a Denzel movie I haven't seen than the other way around.
Did you see his first one?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure exactly if he's got some stuff, hidden back in the, 80s and 70s, but
he's got Death Wish in the 70s. Yeah.
Let's see. What was my first Denzel movie? It might have been Glory, actually.
Yeah. That's 89. He's got quite a few before that. Power, Soldier's Story, Cry Freedom.
Cry Freedom.
Yeah,
he was up for the Oscar for Cry Freedom as well, but they gave it to Sean Connery.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll revise my statement to anything from Glory on. You'd be hard pressed to find a movie I haven't seen, but
which honestly makes sense because that really was the one that put him on. So prior to Glory, Denzel was black famous. He had been on St. Elsewhere. He had done some movies, but Soldier Story, but Carbon Copy, which was his first film in '81, where he plays the son of a white guy. I forget the actor's name. George Siegel, I think it's George Siegel.
It is.
Yeah, George Siegel. But outside of that, he wasn't mainstream until Glory, that he really burst on the scene, and everyone recognized the talent that he is.
Yeah, he's absolutely wonderful, and we're going to talk about their dynamics and a lot of other spoilers for this movie. So if you haven't seen the movie since 1995, or if you're like me and it's new to you altogether, please put us on pause, check it out, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
And we're back. One last warning before Bryan ruins this movie for you. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. We've been hyping it up. Bryan, tell us what this movie's all about.
Veteran Commander Frank Ramsey leads a nuclear submarine USS Alabama with newly assigned Executive Officer Ron Hunter. When the U.S. government orders a potential nuclear strike, the sub receives only a partial follow-up message after losing communication, leaving it unclear whether to proceed or stand down. Ramsey is determined to launch the missiles immediately, trusting protocol and the urgency of the original order. Hunter, however, insists that they must confirm the incomplete message before unleashing nuclear war. The disagreement escalates into a full-blown mutiny as the two men and crew split over duty versus conscience. Trapped deep underwater with no outside contact, the submarine becomes a pressure cooker of paranoia and moral conflict. As it builds, the two come to a head as they finally repair communications and receive an order to stand down. The movie culminates with a naval board discussing the future of Hunter as well as the of veteran Commander Ramsey.
Yeah, and they conclude like you were both right and both wrong.
What a great I don't want to skip directly to the end, but what a great ending. You know, you want to talk about like ambiguity and whatnot. Like I understand that the happy ending is we don't all die. But how much fun.
I think the horse quote when he's like, I was wrong. I'm like, oh, wow. He's actually going to just straight up admit we're going to have this almost come to Jesus type moment. And he's like, the horses were from Portugal. So yeah, that military tribunal, I think we almost have to jump into the conclusion of this movie. Like we could start anywhere, but the real meat and potatoes is right decisions, wrong decisions, military tribunal. Bryan, you said that was satisfying for you, like how the tribunal came to the conclusion of both right. It doesn't feel like a cop-out to you?
No, not only does it not feel like a cop-out, but it actually shows that there would be more of a discussion going forward, like how could it have gotten to this and how close it was based on two individuals of senior rank discuss or unable to have a discussion about, you know, what's what. That I think that's actually one of the best scenes of the movie is that Admiral's last quote of saying like, this is something that will, you know, haunt us, you know, now and well after you leave this room. I don't remember what the exact quote is, but yeah, I mean, he basically goes down like, you know, president on down. We have a lot to discuss after, you know, this mess. So,
you know, I would say one, yes, it's not a cop out. I think the ending is fantastic because, like I said earlier, it leads to discussion. But what I think is so great that that they did that, they pulled the okey doke that he was going to apologize but didn't. And it's good because when you watch through the movie and you see the interaction between Hackman and Washington, you would think prior to the escalation of conflict, while starkly different in their naval education, their backgrounds, their approaches, they have a mutual respect for each other. And they seem to be getting along well, even while feeling each other out. So you wouldn't think, based upon what you've seen, friendly banter, challenging banter, getting to know this guy's philosophy, pushing each other a little bit to kind of find out what each other are made of. You wouldn't think things would just tailspin into the mess that we had. So I think it's just great that they didn't have that right or wrong, because they had played so well into the dynamic between the two of them, of how they approach things and how they talk to each other and how they receive from each other, that having one apologize and admit that the other was right would have done a complete disservice to all that great work that they did throughout the rest of the film.
I like it. It was interesting. The council kind of dresses down Denzel Washington, even though he winds up sort of being our hero here. They take those little jabs, even when they're talking about the promotion. It's like he, on his sterling recommendation, unless you object, Lieutenant Colonel Hunter. And
well, so that's unique in that when you're before, and not like I talk like I was in the Navy, I wasn't the Sea Cadets, but when you are brought up before the Admiralty, you have a chance to defend yourself. So him not getting the opportunity to make his own statement, essentially the only way he's told his side of the story is his official report that he wrote. But usually you get the chance to speak to the Admiralty and tell your side of the story. So the surprise and the without my testimony, sir, it's like, I'm getting hosed here. Like, you're believing what this guy said. This guy's a crazy man. He put a gun to somebody's head. He's got this stupid dog on the ship. Like, y'all. And I remember, like, I mean, it's funny, but like, imagine if you're him in that spot, you know, the Navy has taken a soft hand with this guy. He's part of this, he's kind of part of this good old boys club. Yeah. They let him get away with stuff. And now you're going to tell me what you've determined, and you haven't even taken my testimony. In your head, you're freaking out.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, I was off board right away when he picks up a Jack Russell Terrier, which I have had around in my lives. My family didn't own them, but we had neighbors that did. And he holds it up and he's like, smartest dog. It's like, that is a lie. I loved Wishbone growing up, but that is a lie. And that is not the smartest breed of dog. They are a little yippy thing.
Yes.
But they did tell me wonderful stories.
I did love it though when Hunter brings up the checklist of what happened during the missile drill, and dog's just like peeing on a missile silo.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a great shot.
And nobody says anything.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, this is dog.
It's like clearly just dog just doing his business on.
And then somebody has to come clean that up.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's newspaper training or whatever else. Because I had the same reaction. It's like, you're just going to let him pee on the pipes? That's
yes,
okay.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, listen, I think one of the things that was craziest to me on the rewatch, we kind of talked about, does it hold up or not? I cannot imagine what it would be like being in the weapons room of a nuclear submarine with 8 guys chain smoking. Like, I was just like, man, they must have like the best ventilation system in the world. Like, I cannot imagine being in a box with a bunch of dudes just like,
They do not.
It's the Matthew McConaughey meme from True Detective where he's like,
yeah,
like taking a mega hit, and you're just like, oh, geez.
I have only toured a submarine. I have no military background or service. I can pretty confidently guess that no, that's not going to be one.
There's a reason why they don't let you do that anymore.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was just wild to me, and I understand from a certain standpoint, like everybody smoked, and
Well, that and their job is extremely stressful.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I was just thinking, like, even on an airplane, like that blows my mind. I don't think I was on a plane back when smoking was allowed on planes. But,
I am old enough to say yes. I was on smoking flights. It's still kind of new to me. Like, I still remember smoking sections in restaurants, smoking in airplanes.
Absolutely.
People smoked everywhere.
I don't remember ever being on a smoking flight.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when that stopped.
That stopped late 90s. It was, I remember Mission Impossible came
I must
out
have
in
been
96,
then at some point.
and around, it was either 97 or 98 that the FAA stopped smoking on flights.
Okay. Yeah, then I must have. I don't recall.
I mean, you were probably on a
flight. Maybe no one was.
Yeah, you were probably on a flight that allowed smoking, but no one lit up.
No one did it. Yeah.
Huh. I feel like if it's allowed, there would always be one guy, especially.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Maybe I just got lucky. I know I went to Disney World when I was like 3 or 4, and I was born in '84, so I must have been on.
Oh yeah, you were definitely wrong.
A smoking capable.
I mean, every flight I'm on now, they tell people to put in earbuds or put on mute their devices, and every single flight, there's at least one where their kid's game is at like 112 decibels for no discernible reason, and you just hear that. It's like the sonic coin sound over and over and over. It's like you just look at the
bunch of kids playing Roblox.
Yeah. You look at the steward or stewardess, like, you gonna do something about this? The answer is no, they're not. All right.
My Achilles heel on flights right now is the kid watching Blippi. I can't. I can't stand it. It's
Coco Melon. That's my enemy.
Hey, it could be worse. It could be watching Caillou.
I just want to go over and be like, just watch Bluey. Like, I'll listen to Bluey. It's fine. It's just not this.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you guys. I think I know where this is going from where we've talked about, but put yourself on this sub and that there is an impending nuclear threat. You've received these instructions to launch missiles, and another vague instruction comes in it's incomplete.
It literally just says ... missiles.
Yeah. And then your communications array goes dark. You're being shot at. I'm not asking who you like more between Ramsey and Hunter. I'm asking, who do you follow in this moment?
I mean, I want to say that I'm pro not firing nukes. But like there is a certain amount of awesomeness to Gene Hackman's like what's the stoicism, right up into where he like loses his crap. Yeah. So it's I'm gonna go Team Denzel because I don't want the world to end, but I don't know how much of that is 20/20 hindsight, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, 1 for Team Hunter.
It's gonna be 2 for Team Hunter. It's that's the other thing that's great is that while we watch as observers of this film, I think the director Tony Scott did a fantastic job of really positioning you as the viewer like you're a member of this crew. Like you feel as you're watching, like you're part of this crew and you're watching this madness unfold. So you kind of start thinking in your mind, well, what would I do? Who would I support? Most people in leadership, regardless of it's military or business or whatever, they have charisma. They have gravitas. Gene Hackman, as an actor, was lacking in neither of those areas. So when you have a captain who can, encourage and rally morale and support, you're going to have a feeling like, man, is this the right thing? And then there's also the naval protocol you have to consider. And in naval protocol, and Matt Craven's character,
Mr. Zimmer.
Yes. Zimmer mentions it, and it's like it's an incomplete message, so it doesn't count. And then Naval Protocol, that would be actually the situation. The first one came through clear. It said launch. The second one was incomplete. So you are supposed to discard that and go with the orders that you have. Now, myself personally, I would not want to bear the moral responsibility of potentially starting, a nuclear war. And since the opportunity to repair the radio and get the message was there, I likely would have gone. I would have gone that route too. But I know it would have. There would have been conflict internally within me, like that we had with Webs, because Webb said it like, "Hey, if I don't want to be wrong on this one." He was very you could see like, Viggo didn't have a whole lot to do in this movie, but stand in a box. But he did a great job of just showing that mental anguish he was going through and having to decide what decision do I make. And that's kind of where I think we, as the audience, we're Weps in this position. What do I do? I think I would have gone the Hunter route, but I would have definitely been conflicted in disobeying my captain.
Yeah, I mean, you've got guys who have been on this ship and with this captain for maybe even the majority of their career. That's why I say my pro Hunter status is probably greatly influenced by hindsight. If you trusted Gene Hackman implicitly, which a lot of these guys did, I can't say that I'm grabbing a gun and saying, no, we can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not something that, especially with naval discipline the way it's supposed to be. I don't think that's something that you jump on deck for. No pun intended. I do have a question for you. Having watched the making of, do they have like a spray bottle sweat guy that comes around and like, you're a little too dry? Because man, the perspiration in this film is insane.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the most highly.
It's sweaty.
It's sweaty. It's one of the sweatiest movies I've ever seen.
Sweaty movie. I didn't see anybody in the making of walking around spritzing everybody down.
I think that'd be hilarious. Just have a dude with a spray bottle, like, "Hey, you gotta hit the sonar guy again. He's looking too dry."
Yeah, that would have been hilarious. No, yeah, I know it's funny that you mentioned that because that's one of the few things I think is overkill. Is that everybody is absolutely drenched in sweat at almost all times. Even when things are calm, they're drenched in sweat, and it's like.
So you got to figure it's BO and cigarettes in there.
Well,
like
yeah.
I feel like you could just anybody who's ever been to a bar in the 90s or 2000s and there's a dance floor knows what the cigarette smoke / BO.
See, I'm picturing like a YMCA locker room like this.
With smoke.
No, more of the YMCA's shower room.
Yeah.
But you've got these big metal things that are. I mean, that type of sub exuded a lot of exhaust and even steam internally, even though obviously it's not steam powered. But like, there was a lot of gas being generated and going into the air that does cause a bit of that clamminess, that dampness. But yeah, it is a sweaty film, but it makes sense with the fire scene, and then of course sweat trying to reflect the high pressure situation that they're in.
So we have 2 on Team Hunter, and I'm gonna diverge here a little bit. I will be Team Cobb. So
I love Cobb.
Cobb is so great. George Dzundza did a fantastic job as Cobb.
Yeah, I'm a rule follower, and I think that's where he is. He even says the line to Hunter, I don't even know that I agree with you.
Right. I love that. And this will be my first swear word of the podcast, but where he's like, thank you, Cobb. He is, thank you. You. Like, it's like, I'm not doing this for you.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Because he doesn't, Cobb doesn't know him. The only one that knows him is Webbs.
Right.
Yeah.
They had all just met him, a couple of days ago before they shipped out.
Dude, first off, there's a lot of cursing in this. This is a very low
it's Quentin
key,
Tarantino.
It's a very low key, heavy cursing film.
It's rated R, and they're sailors.
Right.
Yeah,
if you
curse like a sailor. Yeah,
if you got a movie with sailors and ain't nobody cussing, like I don't cuss. I grew up in a Christian home. My mama didn't cuss. My daddy didn't cuss. I don't cuss. But if I watch a movie about sailors and ain't nobody cussing, I'm like, oh, this ain't real. This ain't real, man.
Right.
You've lost me. I can't suspend my disbelief that much to believe sailors ain't cussing up a storm. Can't do it.
I have the same mentality when parents, same background, same upbringing, it sounds like, but my parents will complain about they saw American Sniper and said there was too much profanity. I said, what do you expect soldiers to do when they're being shot at, saying, oh shoot, shucks, darn? Like that's not reality. But
yeah.
I do understand Ramsey's point of view a little bit, and I understand some of the crew because Hunter has zero combat experience. Like he's brought on this ship.
Well, very little.
Yeah. Yeah, he has he's looking up the dossier on him, and it's just like, okay, you've seen next to no action. Doesn't really care to be questioned by him. And we have several of those tense moments where it's just like, how dare you? Not in front of the crew. And he has several dressing down moments of Hunter because of that. So let's talk about Hunter a little bit. Denzel Washington, charisma for days. I mean, he comes across as logical, cautious, reasonable. But at times, does it seem more like he's uncertain or maybe he's dragging his feet?
No, I wouldn't say that. Particularly because you can't be an executive officer if you are uncertain or drag your feet. People, and again, not from personal experience, but from just what I've had relayed to me from my family and friends that were in the Navy. Nobody likes the XO. You're not so like there was a quote that I think my uncle who served in Nam told me, said if everybody doesn't hate the XO, then he's not doing his job. Like the XO's job is to be by the book, to make sure everything is running right. His job is to be a jerk to the point where you don't, when you see the XO coming, you're like, oh God, it might make sure everything is right because the XO's coming. Like no one likes the XO. And so Hunter coming in, and again, going to the point you made about Cobb and his response, that's why Cobb sided with him, because Hunter went by the book. He properly, by Naval Code, relieved Captain Ramsey of command, and he went by the book. Otherwise, Cobb likely would have been loyal to his captain, who was present for their introduction meeting. So clearly a trusted and close advisor to Ramsey. He definitely would have sided with Ramsey if Hunter hadn't gone by the book and was clearly in the right within that microcosm of the situation. Hunter is very confident in who he is, what he knows, and of his education. Because Ramsey took shots at mentioned his Harvard background and calling sneak dissing him like, most eggheads want to talk during the sunset, but you knew enough to shut up and enjoy the moment. Just, slight digs at him because it is old school versus new school, experience versus less experience, learning on the job as you go compared to classroom theory and war tactics. And then they even elucidated that more. They continued that banter in the officers' mess as they were discussing the morality of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Like it. Frye, you mentioned the language in this film. I mentioned Quentin Tarantino is getting he's not credited for his
No, he's not. I mean, but man, there are so many lines where it's like, okay, all the Star Trek, I'm a big Trekkie, but all the Star Trek mentions that just come out of left field. And then the Silver Surfer argument. It's like, come on, Quentin.
Yeah, I love that.
And
that was great.
If you love that type of banter, which I do, it works. but it is so jarring out of left field within the rest of the writing. It's like, especially coming from Hunter. I just described him as very buttoned down, very by the book, and all of a sudden he's siding with the guy on an argument over Silver Surfer. That's just that really doesn't seem to fit within his character. And then quoting, Star Trek, like, I need more warp speed. I need you to be Scotty. Okay, Quentin, we know you touched up the script a bit. Like, okay, you don't got to make it that obvious that you worked on this script.
Frye, you said you loved it. I mean, you are our Marvel guy. Were you familiar with the Silver Surfer argument?
Yes. I would say that it was even more poignant for when I saw this originally than it is today.
Yeah,
but,
that Mobius run,
right.
It was only like a 2 episode or 2 comic run, right? It wasn't.
It was very, very limited.
Very like 5 issues. It was very small.
But yeah, it's what a great little gem to put in there. I thought that was fantastic. Him developing some relationships with some of the younger officers on the ship and that sort of piece. And then, obviously the Star Trek thing's fun too. This is a great script. There are great lines in this. There are, there's some levity to it. The whole part where, oh gosh, I'm going to blank his name. Sopranos.
Oh, Gandolfini.
Yeah. When he's on the bus and they're messing with the one dude and he goes, "Who played the German sub commander in Enemy Below? Was it Kurt Jurgens or Harvey Kruger?" "Sir, wrong answer. Drop it." Just messing with him.
And the gall he has to be like, is he going to fit on the boat? And I'm you just as big as he is. What are you talking about?
But
apparently Denzel and Quentin had some heat due to this movie. Denzel felt some of the dialogue was racist and was pushing back against it. I don't know if that's purely coming out of the horse debate, where back and forth Gene Hackman is emphasizing that the horses are white, and then Denzel says, "Yes, but they're born black," and there's a little bit of that. But they've said they've buried the hatchet since then, but there was some feuding going on due to the dialogue that Quentin was thrown in.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking Pulp Fiction, Django. I'm sure.
Quentin does think he has the impasse.
I'm sure if Denzel ever watched really any of Tarantino's films, he's probably like,
yeah. So like, I don't rock with Quentin much, really. Yes, there's work that he's done that I love, and I will never talk bad about the work itself. You mentioned Pulp Fiction. There's also Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, To Kill Bill.
Yep.
Done some great work. However, I haven't. You mentioned Django. I haven't seen Django. And
there's a script.
Well, see, but one of the reasons why is that over the years I have calculated, in my personal opinion, and others, there are others who feel the way I do, that Quentin. We in the black community have this phrase called "playing in our face," and Quentin likes to try to play in our face. He thinks for some reason he has carte blanche to use the N-word with copious amounts, even saying it himself in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
So the fact that he and Denzel had beef over the script makes sense, but also because Quentin shoehorns stuff in where it's not working or
necessary.
The racial aspect, as far as part of the conflict between Ramsey and Hunter, is fine. The dialogue behind it and the way it was placed was stupid. It just wasn't done well. There were plenty of times where you could have added the racial element to it that they missed out on. For example, when Hunter's being introduced to after the debriefing with Ramsey and the Admiral, and he's being introduced to Gandolfini and Zimmer, he sees Rocky Carroll. He and Rocky Carroll already know each other. Rocky Carroll's character knows Hunter's wife. and they kind of give each other the brothers nod to each other, and you can see there's an instant connection between him and Hunter that, while friendly with the others, is different. It's not the same as the other people. So you had an opportunity to really tell part of that story with maybe Hunter is going to assume that Rocky Carroll is going to help him because they have some familiarity, and black folk tend to try to stick together while they're in the military. But obviously, Rocky Carroll doesn't choose him. That sitting and waiting for Vossler to fix the radio is not the time to shoehorn a very poor metaphor about horses and the color that they're born with. It's like, so, because there was no point to it. Oh, well, they're white. Okay, well, that's true, but when they're born, they're black. Okay, so what? It's still the same horse. Like, like, what point are you trying to make here? That doesn't build tension. You're at the climax of the third act. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's something that could have been in the middle of the film. He could have taken those types of shots or slight digs early on and in the middle as things are ramping up and as they start to have more and more conflict. For example, with the fire, the arguing over the fire and the drill. That's when you want to take a slight dig at him and imply something racial, a microaggression. That's where you want to put that in. You don't want to put a microaggression in while you're waiting for the freaking EAM and most of the conflict's about to be over. Like, why would you shoehorn that line in there? It doesn't make any sense.
I did feel like that kind of came out of nowhere and would have maybe served the film better if it was towards the beginning. Like you're saying, there's some degree of back and forth.
I think for me, and I never really even thought of it in the way that it's brought up here. I always thought of it as a reminder about the original conversation so that they could pull out the ending the way they did, where he goes, "You were right and I was wrong about the horses." Like, I thought that was a tension breaker reminder of the original conversation, which would then play into his admission of being incorrect at the closing of the movie. That's how I
talking about Arabians and paints.
Because they talked about the Arabians and paints. Like, I agree that set that up, but setting up that conclusion at that point in time, at that very tense point in time, as the dialogue between them, it didn't make sense. If that was something they said in the officer's mess, if that was something they said previously prior to the escalation of the inciting incident, I think that would have made sense, because we could have seen Hunter relying on not Hunter, but we could see Ramsey relying on some of his white officers more than his black officers. Hunter could observe that, and be like, or even when the brother died in the fire, if Ramsey said something like, "Oh, it was 300 pounds of fried chicken that killed him, not the fire." Okay, I see what business. I see how you play. Okay, I'm gonna remember that. Like, something like that would have made more sense as far as stirring up some racial tension there. But he just shoehorns this anecdote about horses that just does not hold a lot of weight, because they talked about horses at the very beginning. But like you said, they mentioned Arabians and paints. That has nothing to do with Lippenzeilers from Portugal or Spain. Like, who cares? Like, it was just random. And it's very Tarantino, because he shoehorns this random animal fact like he does in all these other movies that no one cares about. And it's like, what is this doing for the dialogue? Not much.
You do bring up the Rocky Carroll dynamic, and I kind of expected the same thing, of like there to be some hurt or tension, because you do notice that most of the submarine is white. Most of these are white men, and the Rocky Carroll's dynamic isn't really brought out. He just winds up siding, and I would have liked to have seen that kind of hurt from Hunter, and just that dynamic. That would have been interesting if this is where they were trying to go with that conversation and things like that. I will say that this movie is actually somewhat based on an actual event. So Russian subs during the Cuban Missile Crisis There was a Soviet sub, and the second in command, his name's Vasily Arkhipov. He prevented a disaster. That guy's known as the man who saved the world.
Yep.
And pretty much the same situation here for Bryan, our sub fanatic. He was in a K-19, so the Widowmaker is. You can check out that movie as well. So this wasn't the movie pitch that was pitched to the United States Navy. The Navy allows the studio execs to research aboard the Trident submarine, the USS Florida. This was originally pitched as a rogue computer that the crew was trying to stop from launching a nuclear missile. They pitched it as The Hunt for Red October meets 2001: A Space Odyssey. Well, the Navy said that's never going to happen. We don't have a computer to do this.
Yeah.
There's no, what are you doing, Dave?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
It's not Star Trek.
Right.
We've seen that in Star Trek.
And I didn't know that. I assumed there was some kind of computer doing this. I know there's some measures to avoid EMPs on subs so they don't just sink. And so a lot of it is analog. But I was like, oh, that's an interesting script. None of the public would know any different. But nevertheless, the Navy shut it down. Then they heard about this story of mutiny on a U.S. vessel. And they said, we're no longer going to help you. We don't want anything to do with this. So we go to the French. And the French were like, yeah, we'll help you out.
We'll make it.
The French like, we love you. Like, no, yeah, the United States Navy was not for that. Because the last thing that they want to be involved in is something that, even though it's not promoting it, that even gives the idea that there will be a mutiny aboard a U.S. Navy vessel. They don't want you to even have the slightest inkling of a thought that would happen. And it makes sense because they don't want anybody to have that sense of fear or doubt that these people that are supposed to be protecting us in the sea, some in the air, would have such a conflict that would cause, this type of potential disaster. So I understand from their viewpoint why they decided that they didn't want to help, although they inadvertently helped anyway. I don't know if you have in your notes, but that submersion of the USS Alabama, which is the real USS Alabama, since there's no law against filming that, they took boats and helicopter and filmed them submerging anyway.
Yeah, that was hilarious because, the United States Navy said, we're not going to provide you film. We're not going to help you in basically any sort of way. So they pay a citizen. There's a private citizen who's phoning the production company and says, hey, they're putting the sub out today. So they follow him in a helicopter and get told by the U.S. Navy, stop filming us. But it just happens to submerge at that moment. That had to be terrifying. If you're the helicopter pilot, all of a sudden your radio pops in.
Truly.
Says, this is Admiral whatever or Captain whatever. By the way, you're doing something illegal, which it wasn't illegal.
Which it was not.
It was not, but it doesn't matter when the people with the big guns tell you it's illegal.
When the nuclear sub says, stop recording me. Okay, I'm going to turn the red button off. Okay.
Yeah, but they did. And that is fun that they were just looking for a specific type of submarine. And they happened by just sheer dumb luck to get the real USS Alabama, as Matt said. So that is a super fun little tidbit for this movie. Our film creation, our producer is Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. We mentioned that. Our director, Tony Scott. We've covered several of Tony's movies, covered Top Gun and True Romance. One of those is getting good ratings from Russell. Top Gun. I wish I'd been on that episode. Russell was very mean to it.
Should have had me on that episode because I'm mean to that movie too.
Ooh, okay. All right. We've got a couple beach volleyball haters.
I don't know. I'm not that mean. I just feel it's overrated. That's my little spiel on Top Gun. It's a little overrated, but
I can tolerate overrated. That's okay. That's okay. But he goes on. He has Beverly Hills Cop 2,
so good.
The Fan, Enemy of the State, Spy Game, Man on Fire, Domino, Deja Vu, Taking of Pelham, and Unstoppable, which was filmed in Pittsburgh.
Yes, it was.
So he's got a lot of action thriller, political intrigue style movie. So this is his bailiwick, and he's doing a lot of fun things. Our cinematographer and mentioned that he was nominated. This is Dariusz Wolski. He is a Polish cinematographer who's best known for Pirates of the Caribbean, but he's also collaborated with Ridley Scott quite a bit. So he has a ton of credits. He does work with Tony Scott again on The Fan, but he just has. We've covered Sweeney Todd, doing all the Pirates of the Caribbean, Perfect Murder. Does a great job in what would be a difficult environment. I mean, we've talked about that set tilting and everything else.
I'm just going to recommend The Fan if neither of you have seen it. Fantastic film, in my opinion. Wesley Snipes, Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I am striking out on most of these.
Well, you mentioned that you were younger, so I'm giving you a pass. Like, you can't help when you were born. So,
yeah, I was one. I've said it many times. My parents were strict, and so there were a lot of movies that I didn't see, and I've caught back up. But I've kind of picked a lane, and I'm a horror fan, so I've watched a ton of horror movies. Pretty sheltered for the most part. I probably saw most of my R-rated movies with Frye. So it's
corrupting.
yeah. He introduced me to quite a bit of things. So it's been some catch up, but I'll get to a bunch of these. I'll take The Fan as a recommendation. Sure. Musical score, Hans Zimmer's always great. I'll ask you guys what you thought of this score. Like, is it adding to the film here? Does it deserve the award that it got?
I think this is one of the first movies where I wanted to purchase a movie score, like not specifically a soundtrack, but just an instrumental score. Hans Zimmer was my number one movie composer right up until Ramin Djawadi. And I probably butchered his name pronunciation, but he came out with a couple haymakers, specifically the one he did for Westworld. He's most known for Game of Thrones, which is fantastic, but the Westworld composition was phenomenal. So specifically, and this is what got me on the hook right away, was his Western piano rendition of A Forest by The Cure.
Okay.
I was watching, I think it's in the first episode. I was watching it and it starts playing and I just look at Jess and I go, is that The Cure? And so like I let the whole episode play and they're going through everything and it says like piano, The Cure, A Forest. And I was like, that is amazing. That is the coolest thing. And as the show goes on, there's more of that styling of pop culture songs. So it's just this fun Easter egg he just dropped in the middle of a score. And I was like, this is amazing. I love it.
Hans Zimmer does a phenomenal job. The score, especially during the intense scenes of the boat, the sub being in peril, it really adds a crescendo and really makes you feel the tension, as waiting for bracing for impact, and like to me, a great score is something you hear and you recognize, but it's almost subliminal, and and you ride the waves up and down. So as you're hearing the tense music, and then it just crescendos into the elation after they take out the Russian sub, like you feel that you ride that wave of emotion, and it doesn't give you the same feeling if you don't have that fantastic score behind it. Zimmer knocked it out of the park with this, and you really don't get scores this good on war movies. Like it's very rare you hear great scores on fantasy films, on sci-fi films, where they take you kind of on part of their journey. But war films generally don't have this type of just the emotional highs and lows and the crescendos that Zimmer, the path that Zimmer takes you on in this score is just it's second to none. It's fantastic.
I speaking of Zimmer, I specifically went out and purchased a multi-record sampling of his entire career. It's all in one box set.
Nice.
And it is phenomenal.
Oh, it's gotta be. Oh, I'm envious. Me and my vinyl collection are envious.
You talking about the tense scenes, and especially with that Russian sub, I noticed it a lot during the bilge bay scene, and as they're plummeting, he dials the music back, but it's still, you're getting like timpani hits or bass hits, and it's just quiet enough that you could maybe tune it out, but if you're really listening for it, there's just this undercurrent of dread and impending doom that I really thought was just masterful. It didn't surprise me when I was reading the accolades, because I watched the movie first and then read. Russell compiles a lot of these wonderful notes. We do our own research as well. It didn't surprise me after I finished this movie to see, oh, this won a Grammy for what Hans Zimmer did, because I was feeling it throughout the movie. I do think of The Patriot. The Patriot score I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just I
think that's the best part of the movie.
I've got to agree too. It's such a huge part of this film, and what it does for the film is undeniable. And you couldn't have had a better guy do it, because he's literally been doing this for 40 plus years, just making bangers that make movies amazing. So, yeah, I mean, you really can't find somebody out there much better than that. It's just that good.
You've got Williams, Zimmer, Elfman, like these are,
and then they have their own lanes, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, as great as John Williams is, I don't think a John Williams type score works as well, because I've never known John Williams to get down to that almost imperceptible level of music to undertone a scene that way. You described it perfectly, because it's almost to the point where you can't perceive it unless you're really focusing. And to me, that just plays perfectly into how the cinematography is, the acting in it. You can hear the tenseness. You can almost hear like the clenching of the jaws as they're waiting for to either die or win, and it is fantastic.
Bryan pasted all of his Hans Zimmer winning scores.
Well, the best part of bad movies, Dark Phoenix, terrible movie, great music. Last Samurai, I think, is a stupid movie, great music. Wonder Woman 1984, bad movie.
Yeah,
great music.
I'll definitely agree with that one. But yeah, you're right. That's the album I was telling you about. I'll just put it on and go on about my business around the house. Just put you in a good place.
Great choice.
Yeah, Gladiator's always a good choice.
Yeah.
Well, we've praised some things, but how about we give some praise for our movie superlatives? You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. We'll start with our MVP, director, actor, supporting actor, something else. Matt, who is your MVP?
It's easy to say Denzel, because he gets top billing for a reason. He really takes lead in this. I'm going to say, however, as great as he is, the MVP to me goes to our director, Mr. Scott. I think without his vision and almost, because like he had done some things, but like this was slightly different for him. Without his kind of, I don't want to say avant-garde because it's not, but I was slightly revolutionary in a way of shooting this film, particularly like special effects. Like they really blew up and imploded that model to make those nominated special effects. and Tony Scott demanded um, a lot of the practical effects and stuff that they made and that they used, and so I think that without some of that added realism, like as great as Hunt for Red October is, it doesn't have a lot of the sub movements that we have here in Crimson Tide that I really think add to the quality of the film, the tension of the film, the feeling of being on the sub, the danger, especially in that scene where they have to close the hatch and Steve Zahn and the other guys die. Um, for the shot where Denzel is on the MSQ, and everyone's looking at him to make the call to close the hatch. He doesn't want the men to die, and you just see from a wide shot, then just to focus the frame on his face, the shadow that's cast on him, you know, and just that direction, him having the music lowered in that scene as well, so that when he says, seal, close that hatch, it is just poignant. The fact that he's condemning these guys to their death for the sacrificing the few for the good of everyone else. Just fantastic ways that he went about with filming and the cinematography of this movie. The lighting is amazing. It gives you, because like subs are dark. I don't know if you've ever been on one, but subs are dark. Like some scenes, there's a whole lot of light going on here. That's very normal. Like they're dark. So it was really, really my hats off are to our director. To me, he's the MVP.
Yeah, I've often said when everything works well, you've got to credit the director.
Absolutely.
Frye, who's your pick?
I actually agree. Tony Scott, he really puts this together, and the director's creativity and how he makes the film in all of its individual pieces so riveting is what's really important here. And I just felt like it was above and beyond.
Okay. I think you guys have convinced me that my answer is incorrect, but I went Gene Hackman as Ramsey. I absolutely love Denzel, but I think Gene's kind of got the harder role here, especially in several moments where he's just humiliated. So I really struggle to think of somebody else that could pull off the "I was wrong" line at the end and have it actually somewhat be charming. It's really difficult to just be like, "No, screw you, dude," and just be out with it. But like, okay, there's still a mutual respect here. So Gene Hackman is my pick, but I think Tony Scott is the better pick.
You can't go wrong. I mean, you could have picked Denzel or Gene or Tony Scott, and there's a case for all three. So
Absolutely.
Gene makes sense.
Best supporting actor, Matt.
Best supporting actor. This one's tough because most of these supporting actors don't get a lot to chew on.
No.
But my pick for best supporting actor, probably the smallest name of the main cast, of the impressive main cast, and that's George Dzundza. I really think he did a fantastic job as Cobb, and because he gets the opportunity to portray a lot of the inner conflict, and I think he just did a fantastic job throughout the entire film, because he had a lot of scenes. You kind of don't realize that he's present, even if he's not speaking. He's present in so many of these scenes, making his presence felt, and his he really kind of has a unique situation where most of the crew was naturally loyal to Ramsey, and him making that choice to side with Hunter, and even where my my favorite, it's silly because it's not like a great line, but like when when he tries to question Hunter, and Hunter's like, he's had it up to his way up to here with anybody talking to him. He's like, now, Cobb. He's like, and Cobb's like, oh, okay, bro, got you. But like, he's in such a tough position, and I think Dzundza did just a fantastic job as the supporter, because he really was supporting both of these leads very well. Most of the other supporting players were supporting one or the other. He truly had a position where he's supporting both of these characters.
Hard agree. Bryan.
I played a little fast and loose with this one, and I just dropped the actor portion, and I went with Hans Zimmer for supporting, just general support. It's not this movie without his score, so that's where I took it.
Yeah, we've praised it up and down. I'm agreeing with Matt. My pick is Cobb. He's just a really interesting character, and he's this middle way that doesn't necessarily agree with Hunter, but he's trying to maintain order and a sense of rules. So I thought George just did a very good job of striking that balance and making a really interesting character, even though most of our cast doesn't get a ton of screen time. Hidden Gem. We've mentioned this is a pretty deep cast list. But Matt, who are you picking as your hidden gem?
My hidden gem is Matt Craven. I think people overlook how good Matt Craven is. And again, he didn't get a lot to chew on in this film, but he did what he does. And I think part of how he has been typecast over the years in this, sleazy, kind of weaselly type of role that he's had throughout his career, partially are from his performance in this film. And I think he really did a great job. His presence was, and his just presence, overall presence and performance really were really, really good. And I don't think you have some of the, I think his lines really drove home a lot of points when they were trying to convince Wepps to join their side. I think that was a fantastic scene with him. And yeah, he's definitely my hidden gem for this film.
I almost don't want him to side with Ramsey. Like, you're a little Weasley and evil. I'd kind of like you to side with the other side, just so there's a more moral ambiguity of what's going on. Like, why are all the squirrely guys siding with Ramsey?
It's an interesting thing on who takes Hunter's side in this, because you've got Cobb for the reasons we've already discussed. You have the tactical officer, which I found very interesting that he sided with him. I'm going to blank on the guy's name, but no, it's the TSO.
Who looks like he's Cobb's cousin.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. And it's Huntsicker. Michael Milhoan. Anyway, it's interesting because he's the guy who basically leads the moral debate when they're locked in the mess officer's mess after a coup number one. Yeah. So that's interesting. And then I just got to say that, just as the lead into that, one of the funniest parts of this movie is, and I really mean funny if you look at it the right way, is 90s films are so well known for their gearing up scenes. Mm-hmm. And in this, you don't get just one, you get two. So it's just,
actually you get three.
Well, yeah, technically you get three.
Technically three, because we had the fire gear up.
Right. Yeah. So, there's no shortage of that. And then there are so many good supporting roles in this, so many truly entertaining people. You have Gandolfini's character, which is, he wants to use that gun.
Yes.
Like there's one point in it where like he's doing the Joker eyes from that basketball game here recently, where he's got the gun on him. He's like, "Oh, please give me a reason to shoot you."
Yes.
So that you've got that character. You got Cobb's character. Like I said, every time I see Matt Craven in something, I go, "Oh, it's Mr. Zimmer." Yeah. Like that is that role. He plays a pretty funny military psychologist in HBO's The Pacific. And it's a great role. It works great for him. He's kind of a nice guy. He's getting to know one of the soldiers, who's had a rough go of it and everything. But still, I'm staring at him, Mr. Zimmer. So, but even the extra hero kind of people that they're winding up, like Danny Nucci's Rivetti or Brancato's Russell Vossler, like their personalities. And I gotta again give a nod to Tony Scott, because he's getting a lot out of these actors who really don't go on to do Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman type things.
Right. But even though none of these guys, Steve Zahn got pretty big, but most of them don't have big careers, but these guys continuously work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just saying how well they crushed in this, despite the fact they didn't go on to
this is like I love character actors, and this is a cast full of fantastic character actors. And to me, honestly, you can have too many movie stars in a movie, but you can never have enough great character actors. And this supporting cast really just holds up the movie stars, who both are fantastic actors anyway. So, Craven is so good. The young guys did a great job. And again, they didn't have a whole lot to chew on. Nobody really did, outside of Hackman and Washington. But everybody hit a double or a home run in their role, regardless of not having a lot to do or say. So the execution, and again, we have to credit the director for getting these people to be able to execute with so little to work with.
Yeah, the cast reminded me a lot of the cast in Aliens. Same sort of bits of everybody's doing their job with as little as they can and getting as much personality as they can in a very tiny amount of screen time.
Absolutely.
But Frye, who's your hidden gem, or is that your tactics officer?
No, I mean, I like him, but my hidden gem for this was Steve Zahn. I completely forgot he was in this until the rewatch for the podcast. So once I was like, oh man, look at how young Steve Zahn is.
Yeah.
So
I went with Rivetti, who I thought Danny Nucci plays Rivetti, and he's the one that has to ultimately seal the bilge bay, and he does an awesome job screaming at the men to get out. But he's also got the funny lines earlier about punching the guy over the Silver Surfer debate.
Right.
So he's got some nuance there. Recast. Man, there's quite a bit to our cast. We've talked about how they all worked. But Matt, who are you recasting?
See, that's a tough one, man. Because this cast is so good. Man. If I had to recast, I would probably recast Ramsey and replace him with Sidney Poitier.
Okay.
And I would do that by really playing up the old versus new, and instead of having and changing the black versus white dynamic to the you're not going to take my spot, replace me, as a black officer in this Navy, because you saw several black people on the boat, but most of them are not commissioned officers. You only have one other commissioned officer, and that's Rocky Carroll's character. The rest of them are essentially grunts. So you have another high-ranking officer, second in command. Sidney Poitier feels a bit, like he's being pushed out the door even more than when he's ready for. And then
I think that would work.
Yeah, and I think that you would just have two fantastic actors, playing off each other, which would have been fantastic to see. So Sidney Poitier as Ramsey.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I like that dynamic. Bryan, who are you recasting?
I actually targeted Vossler on this, not because I didn't like him, but just because I wanted one of these other kind of.
You wanted James
I,
Doohan,
I
the
no, I
actual
wanted
Scotty.
no, I wanted to kind of really emphasize some of the more unsung heroes of this film, and I was thinking young Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
This would
I
have
can
been
see that.
his film debut as Vossler, the radio tech.
I mean, he's fantastic. So
I don't know no brothers named Foster though. another Tarantino thing, like always putting his homies' names in everything.
Well, I'm gonna go after Aragorn. I think it's Viggo Mortensen. I don't know. There's something about him with short hair that I just can't tolerate anymore. Short hair, no beard, don't like it. So I want to put it.
The butt chin with all of the sweat was a little disconcerting at times.
I want Willem Dafoe here, who I
Oh
feel.
yeah,
I mean, Platoon, but
yeah.
If I want somebody to be a little bit sketchy on which side they're going to choose, I think Willem Dafoe can toe that line and ultimately do the right thing. Best shot. We've talked about this is a cinematic kind of tour de force. They do a lot of impressive things, but Matt, what's a shot that stood out to you?
Oh, when that Russian sub blew up.
Ooh, okay.
Because it looked real. I know what I'm watching is not real, but it sure did look like they blew up a real sub. That was a fantastic cinematic, and because and we in other movies we've seen submarine warfare, and it's doesn't look convincing, or they're telling the story, and the impact, and when the impact happens, they're inside the sub, and you're seeing everybody jostle around. And I'm going to say, kind of diverging a little bit, credit again to Tony Scott for not doing the Star Trek, everybody flops and falls everywhere upon impact. Because sometimes you see that, and that's not reality. And I'm glad they didn't do that in these scenes, probably because they would have fallen off that leaning bridge they built. But I'm just glad they didn't do that. But no, I really think that shot was extremely well done and very believable. And even to this day, it looks great.
Practical effects hold up.
Yes, they do.
Bryan, what's your best shot?
I went with the various shots of the radio and sonar guys during action sequences or times of tension. I feel like it's a very much a hallmark part of this movie is to show these guys under duress as they perform their various functions. And it really does put you in that role. I think you said it earlier, it's, you really feel like you're a member of the crew in this film. Yep. And, I targeted guys like, oh gosh, I'm already forgot his name, Danny Nucci and Lillo Brancato. Yeah. They were the youngest people in the film. So as a young person myself, when I saw it, I always kind of felt like I was one of the sonar radio guys. So I really feel like that was such an integral part of the film that they're putting the weight of truly the world on the shoulders of 20 somethings, who have to build a radio from scratch or watch out for the sub next time it comes around or, whatnot.
I like it. I went with when we finally get the communications back up and that paper is handed first to Hunter and then it goes to Ramsey. We get shots of their faces. There's absolutely no betraying what that paper says. There's just this solemn acceptance of it. And it's not until somebody else actually calls out what has happened. And you're like, oh, okay, Hunter was right. They said to stop. I just thought that was masterful of shooting it in the way where we weren't certain what was happening other than just orders were.
Yeah, I thought the pause, on that pause, Hunter reads it, gives it to Ramsey. Ramsey reads it, and then everything stops.
Mm-hmm.
And no one says a word. No one moves a muscle. And just fantastic timing, and because the thing is, Hunter could have been right, and they still have to launch. And that was my thing, is like, Hunter's right. They get the message, that's important, but that message could say launch, and you still have to start World War III, and then so it's like just a great moment of what is going to happen, and I think they played that so well because it's not a clear black and white, right and wrong movie, that you aren't assuming, okay, the message says don't launch. You're assuming we've got the message. It says one or the other. Really, which is it? And so, that's just fantastic storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes it compelling is they're both trying to save lives, just in different ways, and they both have different motivations. So, best scene, wonderful acting throughout, but what's your best scene, Matt?
It's tough, man. It's tough. Because so many of them, like, I would just have to. It's like just a combination of sequences, just the back and forth of the mutinies. Ramsey taking over, Hunter taking back over, and then when they burst into, essentially, so everything. My favorite scene is everything prior. So once Hunter takes the captain's key out, start of the scene, everything up until them sitting down and talking about horses is my favorite scene. Because the tension is so thick, and then freaking Gene Hackman sucker punches him twice, and then he puts the key on and just looks at him like
yeah, what now?
What are you gonna do? You punch me, big deal. I'm not giving you this key. Just such great acting in that. No one has to say anything. Just bap, give me that GD key. Doesn't have to say a word. Bam! Like, just fantastic performances. So that's my favorite scene.
It's a great pick. Bryan?
I absolutely love the setup and the execution of them boarding the sub. It's pouring the rain. Gene Hackman gives that speech. You've got Cobb backing it up. I mean, that just gets you jazzed for this movie. Like, I was hyped up after that.
It's an underrated movie speech.
It is a really underrated movie speech.
I just can't get into, I hate Alabama, so I don't.
Oh, I gotcha.
Any Roll Tide mentions of
I do think it's funny that when he does, and what do we say, Mr. Cobb? Go, Bama, Roll Tide. And the smirk on Denzel's face when he realizes that's the chant, and he's just like, man.
Really?
Well, I went with the Bilge Bay flood, and that's where I felt the most tension, because we get the wonderful depth gauge scene where it's counting down, and Cobb says, hey, if this crosses 1800, we're finished. And then we do cross 1800, and just the weight of the decision to seal up 3 men. I think back to the stories of World War II, where they talk about the men in the USS Arizona and finding like claw marks and things like that, where the men are trapped there for days, and just how awful of a fate that is, that Rivetti is sealing them in. So all of that masterful bouncing back and forth, the music, just the weight of the decision, all of it just very, very well done. Best wardrobe or makeup moment. This, not a ton of makeup going on. Maybe Bryan Spritzer is going around with
the sweat spritzer.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's not much. Well, you know what? I have to say, I think dress whites are probably the best dress uniforms in all of the military. So the tribunal before the Admiralty, where Hackman and Washington are in their dress whites. I think that's the best costume.
They do look great.
They look great. And the thing is, they look like military men.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look like actors playing military men. They look like military men. So, because like I remember what and not knocking the movie because I think it's a great movie, but Tom Cruise in Officer Gentleman, not Officer Gentleman,
A Few Good Men.
Few Good Men. Oh, I don't know why I said Officer Gentleman. I think 'cause he's in that too. But A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise, I don't care what uniform he has on, does not look like a military man. Even except outside of Top Gun, because he kind of does look like a pilot. But when he's in dress uniform, he doesn't look like a military man. But Denzel and Gene Hackman, they look like naval men. So I got to give the costume department their props on that.
Frye, what about you? What uniform or wardrobe sticking out?
I'm picking this not because it's necessarily something that is it's not necessarily something I like. It's just something that truly stands out. But it's Gene Hackman's red Alabama hat. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is literally, outside of Sonar Green, it is the only color for huge swaths of this film.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my pick as well.
And I believe it's outside regs, which is like another
one. Well, which is in line with the dog.
The dog. And
it's Ramsey.
His whole maverick thing. It's Ramsey.
Maybe looks the other way because he's Ramsey.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting and thought, are they actually allowed to wear that? Because the typical military hat is going to look different.
No, you're not allowed to wear that.
Change one thing. Matt, we've talked about a couple things that didn't sit well.
But I think it's like this movie doesn't have many things that kind of need to be changed. If I could change one thing, it would just blend Tarantino's, punching up the script a little bit better. Just so you can keep the Star Trek, you can keep the Silver Surfer. Just make the whole. We're gonna just make the racial tension dialogue better. That would have improved the movie. You can have that. And I think that element works. It just wasn't executed well. So that's what I would change. Better dialogue for the racial tension.
I agree. Bryan, what are you changing?
I'll be honest with you guys. I never watched this movie thinking there was a racial element to it, and after listening to y'all talk about it, I'm like, okay, that went over my head at the time.
It was very, and that's why, because again, kudos to Ryan, because early on, because it was very microaggression,
right?
There was just slight digs, and then Tarantino had to Tarantino.
I actually think I liked it better when I was living in my good 90s action movie place. So I'm gonna go 3 for 3 on that. I don't think this movie needed it. I was happier in my ignorance.
We often are.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I want to completely change this movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I kind of want Ramsey to be right. And that is because I think it's a much more interesting movie if the people who are acting like villains are actually correct in the end. You could have Hunter reiterate the line of "God help us," because he says, "If it's war, God help us." I think there's an interesting discussion of what happens in disobedience if we're wrong. But the ultimate result is nuclear holocaust, so we don't.
I wouldn't mind watching a version where that is like an alternate ending, where that is the fact. But instead of having the snappy ending the way I like it in the actual version, I would need them to like come up and the movie end there. You have no idea the extent of the damage. You have no idea, like that. That's how you end a movie where Gene Hackman's right.
Yeah,
is the whole world over? Was it just exchanging a couple nukes? Like what was the aftermath? You don't get to know.
Right.
Yeah, having that ambiguity is kind of what I want, because I love talking about this movie, and I think that's another.
Yeah,
it's almost like The Mist, where you have that.
100%. And that's one of my favorite endings to talk about, because even Stephen King was like, the movie's ending was better. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah. But in reality, Matt, I think you hit it better with what doesn't amount to nuclear holocaust or fallout or anything else.
Chad wants everybody dead.
Yeah, sure. Best quote. A lot of quotes. A lot we
quotes.
Can't say.
Yeah, a lot of great quotes. It's not that impactful, but I'll reiterate when Denzel just yells, "Now, Cobb!" Like, because
yeah, you feel it,
because you feel it, and up until that point, he has been relatively cool, calm, and collected because that's what the XO was supposed to be. The XO wasn't supposed to be showing that level of intensity. He's supposed to keep things calm, especially in this situation. And then him having to break out of that, break that veneer of calm and collectiveness, where he's had enough. I think it's a fantastic line.
I'm for it. Bryan, what are you quoting? Am I getting another sonar ping?
No, I'm gonna ping it. I'm gonna ping it for you. So my favorite quote, and it's just because it made me laugh. That's the whole pinging points. We don't got time. Rodchenko is fueling his birds, and what do you think he's going to do after that, huh? Why? Because you don't put on a condom unless you're there to ping.
Yeah.
Which cracks me up because the entire, and you were too young to remember, but the entire Cold War was a whole bunch of condom putting on and not pinging. So yes, like especially with the Russians. So it's like, we've been doing that for 30 years. Are you sure that's what it really is?
Right.
And only Gandolfini could deliver a line like
that. Oh, I know. It was great coming from him. Yes, I wouldn't have wanted that line from anybody.
No one else could have delivered that line. Yeah, absolutely.
I just went with another line that amused me. It was Denzel's solving of Rivetti's argument when he says, everybody that reads comic books knows that Kirby Silver Surfer is the only true Silver Surfer. Yeah. Am I right or wrong? And he's, of course, right. So
he is correct on that. Kirby Silver Surfer.
Appreciate that. Well, before we get to our ratings and recommendations, Matt, tell us where we can find you one more time.
Yeah, so you can find Geek Nation, which is a conglomerate of everything that I do. All of our 3 podcasts. You can find our main show, the original Geek Podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods. You can find us on social media, just Geek, Jeek Nation, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We also have a Discord that I'm hoping is going to start using. So if you like sports and you like geek stuff, and you're not ashamed that you love both, and you're tired of either side shaming you for liking both, we are the place to be. We are going to start having some discussions about Civil War, Marvel Civil War event. It's the 20-year anniversary of Civil War, which is crazy.
Fantastic.
But it's going to be a new part of the show. We're going to have discussions on Discord, and then 15 minutes that will be edited and inserted into episodes of the original Geek Podcast. So really looking forward to starting that next month.
Dude, I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, their podcast has Bryan all over it. I mean,
right.
There's some NBA, there's some Marvel, there's just everything. It's definitely, you'll find something to enjoy from these guys.
I do my best.
So, all right, full circle. We're going to give this movie our ratings from 0 to 5 stars, half-star increments. Matt, it seems like you enjoy this movie. You're watching it 30 times. What are you giving it?
Man, so you said half-star increments. Because I want to give it a 4.75. But for going into half stars, I got to give it a 4.5. But that's only because of Tarantino's shoehorn Tarantino-ness. Other than that, it's almost a perfect film for me. There's so much to praise and not a lot to complain about. It's always an enjoyable ride. So, yeah, 4.5 out of 5.
Awesome. Bryan?
I gave it a solid 4-star rating. This is a great movie. Is it perfect? No, but it's up there, and it's got one of the most wonderful qualities a movie can have, and that's rewatchability.
Absolutely.
It is definitely on my rewatch list now. I saw it and I'm like, I'm going to plan on seeing this again very, very shortly just to get some of that banter in my ears. Really, really enjoyed it. I also think this is a film that this is going to be such a weird comparison, but we did My Dinner with Andre, which is not the most interesting film, but it is a fascinating film to discuss. Like I had more fun.
Wallace Shawn, right?
Yeah, Wallace Shawn.
Yeah.
It's really fun to actually discuss. I think this movie, while it's a great movie, it's even more fun to discuss. I've really enjoyed this episode. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 as well. Wonderful first time experience. It may even improve with time. So thank you so much, Matt, for introducing this to us.
My pleasure. I love this film. It is so enjoyable. I'm glad for you, especially as a first timer, getting to watch it and enjoy it. That's dope, because I generally don't get to have this type of conversation with someone who is their first time. Usually it's someone who's watched it before, or they haven't seen it in a few years. But to discuss it with a first timer, it's always interesting to hear that perspective.
It's such a good feeling too. I love it when I get these guys with something they haven't seen. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, well, you're pretty safe introducing some form of war.
That's true. Yeah, there really aren't a whole lot. I'm pretty much crime noir and war films guy. So,
yeah. Yep. I mean, we all have our niches, which is what makes it so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just as we are partners in crime, Bryan's going to help me pick a movie for next week that will feature a movie with famous crime duos. So, Bryan, here's our next week choices. Option number 1 is Natural Born Killers from 1994. 2 victims of traumatized childhoods become lovers and psychopathic serial murderers, irresponsibly glorified by the mass media. Or option 2, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969. So in 1890s Wyoming, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid lead a band of outlaws. When a train robbery goes wrong, they find themselves on the run with a posse hard on their heels. Or option number 3, Bonnie and Clyde from 1967, getting even older. Bored waitress Bonnie Parker falls in love with an ex-con named Clyde Barrow, and together they start a violent crime spree throughout the country, stealing cars and robbing banks. What are we going to watch?
I'm going to go with the OG irresponsibly glorified duo and go with Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay, you have made Russell happy by picking the oldest movie on this list.
I was giving a hard look at Natural Born Killers. I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah, don't do it. We cannot live in the 90s as fun as the 90s were.
I mean, if you're trying to avoid bleeps and cussing, Natural Born Killers.
Oh yeah, that's not the one to do it either.
And they're all great films.
And I got to tell you, I've been on so many podcasts where I'm like, why are you all doing this to me? I remember when we did Bad Santa. I'm like, what do I do here? Like,
it's like, really, what are we doing?
I can quote nothing from this.
If you ever are doing more than duos, I would just say I'll just suggest Set It Off as an option if you're just doing crime movies.
Oh yeah.
Set It Off. Well, you probably haven't seen Chad. It's Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica Fox, and Kimberly Elise.
I have not seen this one. No,
I haven't either.
Set It Off is a fantastic film.
I mean, set it up for us. Please come back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd do that.
We've loved having you, and we would love to have you show up again. I'm sure our listeners would as well. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining us.
No, thank you both for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully maybe next time we do this, we do it on my show and we sprinkle a little sports in before we talk film.
Awesome. Yeah, we can do that. We love sports here at the Roundtable as well. So thank you once again, and thank you, Bryan. Thank you, all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you guys to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. If you have nice things to say, please subscribe, rate, review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is audio only. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. It's always fun communicating with you guys. And remember, producing and providing this podcast is fun, but it is not free. We pay for stuff like Zencastr. So we invite you to support the show at our Patreon page, patreon.com/retromovieroundtable. Any contribution is much appreciated and goes towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Bryan?
You're the skipper now, and the skipper always knows what to do, whether he does or doesn't.